where the lights are bright and the people are merry, and expectancy is just around the corner for everyone. We pray for those who are in need. Thank you for those who have plenty. Help us to share and do those things that are right in your eyes. We thank you for those that are represented here today. Pray for the agenda, lift it up, and thank you for the harmony and unity that will come no matter what differences that we may have. And we give you praise in his name. Amen and amen.
Call this meeting of the Fayette County Commissioners to order, joining the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes to the last meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes. Dan Parker.
Good morning, Commissioners. I think you'll remember Craig Howe. He's our chairman of the EDG board. We're here this morning to do something special. Craig, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would.
This?
I didn't grow up here or wherever. I moved here, and people inspired me to be involved in the community. And you look around this room, there's a lot of people that have done that. Leota in particular, business owner, whatever. So that's something of high value. We all need to treasure that we have people that want to get involved and help and do things. So thank you, Leota, for your time.
You're welcome.
If I could just add a little bit. It seems the older I get, the longer I talk, and I apologize for that.
I've learned to poke him.
But before we invite you up here to get Mr. Hanson to do a little photography, a little photo opportunity for this occasion, and before we present you with the plaque, I would just like to let everyone here know what a special individual Leota King is. That she is an example to the community. She's done some extraordinary things. To say none the least is becoming involved in politics at a little later in life, and then to do so and have what has happened to her physically,
You're going to have me crying, Dave.
and to overcome that is just an example to everybody of what you can do if you persevere and if you try. In my life, there's always been Leota King. We lived 2 doors down from Leota's parents. And when I was just a very little boy, she would babysit for me and my baby sister when my mother had some severe medical problems. So, Leota, we all love you. And we appreciate you for your life and for what you've done. This is not Ralph Edwards, or this is your life. That's not what this is. This isn't. This is just a farewell to your service. But when one door closes, another one opens. So we look forward to seeing you in all the other activities throughout the county and the other organizations that you're involved with now. We want you to stay so that we can continue to be with you. So if you would come up and we'll present this plaque and we'll get off of the podium here. Maybe we can come around here in front of the podium and present this plaque to Leota. We'll get the rose between the 2 thorns here. Here, let's get right here. Give you here. All right. God bless you. Leota, God bless you. God bless you.
I wasn't kidding about crying. Thank you, Dan. Like you said, he and I go back a long ways. We have a few minutes yet before we can open highway bids. Joey Laughlin.
Expect to go?
Quick. All right. I'm here to, we've discussed this in the past, about switching my secretary, Beth King, who is titled as First Deputy Clerical, I think, in the budget. She is titled as a COMOT, which is Computer Office Machine Operations Technician, which most of the courthouse employees are. Beth has been with the Sheriff's Department since 1991. She has been a county employee for 41 years. She has not worked in the courthouse in 27 years. She is the first deputy clerical, which means she handles all the business for the sheriff. And she is the only employee at the Sheriff's Department that is not eligible for longevity pay. And during our budget a few years ago, everything was approved, everything was good, and the next day I got a call from a council member saying that Beth was not eligible. And she was very hurt by that. I was hurt for her. I've had discussions with you guys a few different times about this, and I would like to see that changed. Her classification to me should be a protective occupations in law enforcement. I've discussed this with the auditor. It does fit. I would like to see that changed. So going forward, not just for Beth, but for anybody that would take her place, which she'll probably outlast me, I'm sure. So.
She's outlasted several sheriffs.
She has. And I remind her all the time she's been working for the county longer than I've been alive, and she loves when I do that. So not really. It makes her mad every time.
What's the official title then that,
It would be POLE, which is Protective Occupations in Law Enforcement, which is what everybody else at the Sheriff's Department is titled as, other than the cooks.
I would entertain a motion to change Beth's classification to POLE instead of COM.
Are those classifications ours to change or ours to recommend to the council to change?
I thought they were yours to change because they're in your handbook.
Yes. Council determines salaries, but we determine positions and titles.
Joey, can you give me some history on, and maybe you can't because it's been years before you actually come along, but of why she didn't have that job classification in the first place?
Just we,
The only time that it appeared or we even knew really that it became an issue was during the pay raises we got for the road deputies and then the jail. She was not eligible for any of the longevity pay during either of those, and you know, she's the one that fills all that paperwork out. So when she goes through and puts everybody's longevity and the raises and everything they got, and she didn't get any of it. You know, besides Amy Reisinger, she's the second most tenured county employee, and it's not just for that. I think going forward for whoever would go into that position. They do go over and interact in the jail. They do things in the jail. Sometimes they cover control at times. You know, she takes care of everything over there and to not, when everybody else is doing, especially when you're filling that
I
stuff
don't
out.
know, originally, I know Beth had the position originally that was considered administrative secretary,
Mhm.
and which the sheriff had the right to bring in with them an administrative secretary. Now Beth has been very fortunate. Most sheriffs, or all the sheriffs, have continued with Beth, and because she does a good job and she knows the job.
I would argue the sheriffs have been the ones that have benefited from that,
Yes,
not
yeah.
her.
Not her,
So
yeah,
She
yeah.
keeps things running over there.
And
But I know
think-
what you're saying.
I think most sheriffs, new sheriffs, seen that handwriting on the wall before they ever got comfortable in the seat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I always thought it was wrong that we ought to be switching those people with elected officials, because they're the ones that, they're the heart of the
Exactly,
department,
exactly.
for the most part. So if it's our place, I'll move that we change that position's job classification for the current employee and all future employees to the poll classification.
Should we do that with the approval of the council?
Well, that's what I'm,
On the safe side?
I'd be happy to bring it to them too. If you guys don't know,
well, that's what I mean. I'd feel more comfortable to call Ken Irwin's office and find out we're doing the right thing. But I would at least want to make that recommendation to the council if we can't legally make that change.
I'll second it and see what happens.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain since Beth is my niece. I have a very personal involvement with this. So,
Let's see how it
Yeah,
works out, and if it doesn't work out, we'll cross the next bridge.
okay, I
And-
appreciate it.
And keep working towards it, but don't let it fall on the back burner.
Okay, no,
Let's-
absolutely not.
let's
And
work
I'll
on
be
it.
at the next council meeting if you guys are gonna bring that to them.
We'll let Jane check with
Sound
Ken
board,
Irwin's
Ken Irwin,
office
And/or State Board of Accounts.
Okay.
yes.
and see
Who
for
has
sure
the
who
authority?
does have the authority to change the classifications.
Awesome. Okay. And I'd like to thank Leota for her service. I've probably had more interactions with you as a commissioner than anybody else. We both got elected at the same time and didn't know what to expect. And I think very quickly I learned that how sharp you were, that nothing was going to get by you, even when I tried. But I've really enjoyed working with you, and you have been not just a good coworker and somebody to handle county business with, but I'm happy to call you a friend, and I wish you the best, and I'll be back for the party later. So thank you so much for your service. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas, God.
Hey, don't go nowhere.
Yes.
I just want to mention, we went through the jail not too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys have really done a fantastic job over there. I mean, they don't look like the same place. And I want you to tell all the guys over there and people in your department that we really appreciate what they've done.
There's a big improvement from when Frank and Zane and I first went through when I was first elected. That the walls are clean and painted and it looks sharp.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'll give all the credit to my jail commander, Leonard Baker, and our staff. Our last jail inspection, it's not something we really publicized or talked about. There was no non-compliance. Everything was good, and the comments were a vast improvement that they've seen within the jail. I know that the gentleman from Elevatus that toured, I talked to him at the Sheriff's Association, the conference we had 2 weeks ago, and he was very complimentary, and he said for a jail that age, a 29-year-old jail, it was the
He
best
didn't
looking in the
believe
He
state.
couldn't believe it.
So,
He said,
yeah.
he said, if I didn't have the prints in our office, he said, I never would have believed it was this old.
Yeah, and that's, I'm just very appreciative of our workers. They busted their butt, a lot of them. We bought a pressure washer. A lot of them were in there pressure washing, jail officers in there pressure washing, and us using our inmate workers. So it's been a big undertaking, but we're there. And the next thing is we've already called to have the front of the jail pressure washed too. So we're waiting on Whitlocks to get back with us, because I know that's the outside needs taken care of too. So that's the next part. So
We
Thank you.
also have a bid from Wholesale Carpets to repair the floor
in the control room.
in the control room and to put new flooring in there.
Oh, I guess I should bring this up too then. We do have our body scanner is in. We are looking at probably, is Diane here? End of January to have that installed. We're looking at possibly putting that in our outside evidence vault and moving that evidence to the basement. It would just be, since Community Corrections and our incoming booking inmates will come through the Sally Port anyway, they will pull in and they can go in that room. So they're supposed to be coming next week, Johnson Controls, to see if they can make that work and be key fobbed. It is heated, so that will help. It'll just be really the best location, other than having people coming in and out. Obviously, trafficking is something we want to alleviate with this body scanner. So putting it in the back will restrict movement, people coming in and out of the secure side of the jail. That can all be handled back there. So Bill should know something next week. And they also, those few pieces of glass we need to replace. They also do, this company that he called, maybe it's not Johnson Controls, I think I have the wrong one. This one also takes care of glass, so they're going to look at those last few pieces we got to take care of too. So good news on that end too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a
No
lot.
problem. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate the job you do, Joe.
Thank you.
We're trying to get Gary Smith in real quick, or-
Yes. Because we've got a few minutes, we don't need to open the oil till
Right.
quarter after. Gary Smith.
I think I got bumped ahead of some people. I'm sorry, but I do have a meeting at 10 that, so I appreciate the,
We try to be flexible and not too restrictive on things here in the city.
thank
or
you.
county.
I am Gary Smith. I'm an attorney here in Connersville, as most of you know. I'm here today on behalf of George Taylor. George, his background, he grew up in Connersville. He was a resident here for all his life. He has a business along with his lovely wife, Lynn, located up in the industrial park. As part of that business, back in '96, George entered into a lease for some property, then put a building on it. The lease, of course, is from the Fayette County Industrial Corporation, but it's authorized by the Fayette County Commissioners. George has had some health problems, and he was in on some things to my office and asked me to look in, if I would, to his lease. He has 2 leases on 2 parcels. And what I found is that those leases started in 32 years ago, and they expire in 2068. He said to me he thought there had been some authorization on behalf of the county to allow land or tenants up there to obtain fee simple title to their property. So I looked into that, and what I found was, yeah, there's been 10 parcels that the commissioners have allowed to be transferred through the Fayette County Industrial Development Corporation to individuals. My thoughts are that, at least in law, that's a precedent or a stare decisis. I mean, the ground is set that probably I could request on behalf of George that you consider allowing the Fayette County Industrial Development Corporation to effect the transfer of title to George. But there's really more to it than that. In my own mind, the question is this what the county ought to do? And I don't mean to fight with myself about stare decisis or precedents, but if you look at this as a county, 2068, January 31st, 2068, will be here. I mean, that will occur, and that's the termination date of these leases. Now, I doubt that any of us will be here on that date. I doubt that George will be here, but it'll come. And so, what will it look like at that time? Well, we have right now a tenant who has health problems. He will not be here in 68. Some things are going to happen to that building that is on that property. What will happen? Well, Gary Naylor used to say, and Doug Howard used to say, that buildings have a useful life. By 2068, that pole barn structure that is there and is nice will have surpassed its expiration date, if you will. And at that point then, assuming that George's lineage keeps up that property, and that's a big assumption, the lease is with George Taylor, and if George should pass away, how does it affect its rights in the landlord relationship? Well, it's fairly sophisticated law. I mean, we've got a decedent and a claim against the estate, and we've got some issues. So, what are we really looking at? Well, we're going to have a deteriorated building when we get that property back, when that land ends. Who's going to take care of it and maintain it up to that time? I'm not sure. But you can write the facts. I mean, if George isn't here, where are we? So, in that regard, when we get it back on January 31st, 2068, whoever the commissioners are then are going to either have to demolish, repair, but certainly market a building that is past its expiration date. We have 50-plus acres up there right now that really we can't give away. So in my mind, I mean, I think I'm on solid footing when I ask you, would you consider asking or directing the Fayette County Industrial Development Corporation to effect a transfer of that property to George Taylor? I think I'm on solid ground on the stare decisis, equal protection, equal rights type of thing for that property. But I think I'm also in solid ground, and I share with you that I think probably the county shouldn't be in the lease business. It's a train wreck waiting to happen in 68, and the way I see out of that is, let's put the responsibility on some of those owners. George, you market it. George, you take care of it. George, you take that burden off of us. Right now, we're just getting, $135 a year, I think, on the lease rate. So, with all that being said, I feel comfortable in saying personally, I think we ought to do this, and then I'm requesting that the commissioners consider making a motion and passing it, that they direct the Fayette County Industrial Development Corporation to effect a change in ownership on the parcels leased by George Taylor in the Fayette County Industrial Development area of the county. So that's kind of where I am. Thank you.
Gary, do you have those addresses in front of you?
I do. Let me see. One is at 5550 Northwestern Avenue. And the other is simply a legal description as far as part of the northeast quarter of Section 1, Township 14, containing 1.819 acres. But it doesn't have an address. I think it sets to the east of the principal building.
Okay. But
We own these, right? If we give them the title, then he pays taxes.
we would have to give this to the economic development.
Yeah.
And then they in turn give it to-
Okay.
Gary, I don't disagree with your thinking and your analogy in that, because like you said, if that, the commissioners of future days could be faced with a dilapidated structure that they have to dissolve.
Certainly, they're gonna have marketing. I mean,
Yeah.
and, you know, where are we on that?
And two, the property will then go back on the tax rolls as well.
Yeah.
So it's a
No
situation where I think we do need to move forward with it. And I would move, Madam President, that we award these two parcels of property to the Economic Development Group and ask them to proceed on to transferring those into private ownership.
I'll second the motion.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Merry Christmas.
It would be nice if we could get all of the properties up there, if there's any left there.
Yeah, that makes some sense. So,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Dan, you can,
We'll take it from here.
okay.
We'll get with Pete, Shaw, and get a transfer. We'll do it. We've done these. I think after this, there's 6 more
Okay.
after this one.
Well, maybe next year we can,
Okay. We'll just
Continue
knock
to
them out
work.
as they ask.
yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Now we can go to bids.
Okay. We'll open the bids for the,
Yeah.
for the highway department. Everybody gets 3, I think. Except me and I got 3.
This package here,
Yeah.
this envelope, they added that when they brought it into Jane, they forgot to put their insurance receipt on it.
civil comment, that's a combination of different things.
Okay. Here's the motions.
I'm going to take a motion to take these one at a time. So, we don't have the highway department say, guide these for.
Let's at least read off who we got bids from.
Okay.
If it's going to, I will.
Okay.
All right, we received bids this morning from 37 Pipe and Supply, St. Regis Culvert, Inc., Civilcon Supply, IMI, representing both the Cambridge City plant and the Connersville plant, Terry Asphalt Materials, and Asphalt Materials, Inc., and Marathon Petroleum Company for emulsions as well, and Harvest Land Co-op, it appears, for fuels, our fuel needs. Is there someone else, anyone else here that thought they turned in a bid or should be represented here in this opening? Okay. I would, Madam President, I'd move that we take these under advisement and allow Jay to look over them, and then hopefully maybe he can come back before the end of the meeting and address them. If not, we'll address them at our first meeting in January.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
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 Three. Jay?
While he's up, you might as well make your presentation if you want.
Would you like to go ahead and tell us what else you've got before you run off with these?
Oh, okay. I'll get right back with these. I'll take them down to the office and do them real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
We've been mainly trying to get the gravel down where we put the new hot mix down.
Yes.
It's a slow process, and I think they closed 30th Street off today so they could get it done. They could try to do it yesterday, and the traffic's so bad out there.
Yeah.
I've got 6 people out there working on it, and 2 of them got flag traffic, and I said, just close it if you have to, as
Yeah.
long as they call 911. I've got a crew going out and checking culverts.
Okay.
They've got some they got to clean up with the grade all, and they're doing that. We've put some gravel on some roads. We'll slowly get to everybody's gravel road if everybody's listening. It's just going to take time with a short crew. You can't. Time you split your crew in half, you're about done, because you have to have a grader operator with the gravel this time of year in case there's lumps in it and everything like that to break it up.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to cut any roads because I don't need any mud holes out there. We already got that. I'm just trying to fill the holes in for right now to get them by.
We want to be careful of how much new stone we put down too.
Yeah,
because
yeah, and I'm not told
We'll throw it
them
off
to
with
get carried away,
snowplows.
put it in the center of the road and just level it out and go on.
Yeah.
That way it helps put the crown back in the road a little bit too.
Very good.
Aside from that, I haven't got any more quotes on trucks, so we'll wait till after the first year, I guess, to do that, because I was waiting on Reedman's and Ford, and neither one of them come through.
Okay.
This time of
Bad
year, it's
time of
hard
the
for
year.
them to.
Yeah, it's a bad time of the year
Yeah,
to try to get vehicle quotes.
that's all I've got.
All
Thanks,
right,
Jay.
Thank you.
I'll be back with these after bid.
Okay, thank you.
Vicki Crow?
Good morning.
I missed mine.
First, I want to thank Toyota for all of their support for the Extension Office and 4-H. It's been a really challenging couple of years, and knowing that you are there to support us and help us out has been invaluable to us, so thank you for that. Down in the Extension
I haven't been able to help
Office,
you get your extra educator, but that's Purdue's fault. We tried.
yeah, we're moving forward, but that's a whole nother story. Down in the Extension Office, we have 2 Purdue staff, myself and then Becky, who's the Community Wellness Coordinator, and then we have 1 office manager. Purdue gives Becky and I a winter recess like they do other faculty at Purdue. So we are relieved from December 21st through January 2nd. Traditionally, we come and ask for the office to be closed during that time so that the one county employee can also have that time off. And from my understanding of the county holidays, that would be, in addition to those, would be the 26th, 27th, 28th, and 31st. And our office manager typically gets a huge amount of comp time during fair and 4-H season. Right now, I think she's sitting around 82 hours of comp time. So that would give an opportunity for her to use about 27 of those. And that's generally what we do each year. So we're just asking permission to close the office for those dates.
I think we've traditionally approved this every year, so. I don't know if we need to have it written in the paper so that people know that there's nobody at the extension office.
Most
during this
people
time.
know that we're closed during that time. They're
Yeah.
used to it because it's been a tradition for I think about the past 9 years. And we do post and send out emails and that sort of thing to let people know.
Okay. I don't know that we've had any complaints or anything over that, have we, Jane? Have you had anybody call about the extension office being closed between
I'm
Christmas
not
and New Year's?
during that time frame.
I see a word. So, I think we ought to go ahead and approve it.
You make a motion to
Yeah, I'll
approve that?
make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
It is an opportunity for her to catch up on her comp.
Yeah.
Okay,
Otherwise, when she leaves, we'd have to cover the front office and it makes it extremely difficult.
Yeah.
yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ricky.
Michael, has he given a comment? No, he's back there.
He's still back there. He's not, he doesn't get out there.
Morning.
Good morning.
You know, everybody's saying how grandma's leaving and everything. Everybody else has to stop taking orders from Ross to do it. So when she
Yeah.
first got elected, everybody's like, "Well, how do you feel about working for her and having her be your boss?" I said, "That changed from the last 35 years. So what's going to be done?" So okay, couple things.
I want you to understand that that will continue.
I figured. The quotes that I got for the computers that you gave me tentative approval for last time, I kept looking and I got a different supplier that gave me a better quote. I had gotten a quote of $680, and then this supplier gave me a quote of $657.04 per computer. Now on the tentative approval, that I could go ahead and order those, but what I think where my money's at, instead of getting 14, I think I can get 16. So that's mainly what I wanted to get approval for, is make sure that that new total is not going to be a problem. And also, I really want to get 17 if I have enough money, because Matt Shirk down in the health department needs one. So his will be billed separate because he has a grant for it. So I just want to make sure that everything's copacetic with getting that approval updated to that 16 plus the one for the grant. I didn't want anybody thinking that I was trying to skirt around anything for the paperwork side of things.
I entertain a motion to approve 16 instead of 14 plus the one with the grant.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
So along with placing that order this afternoon, we just got 9 laptops in for CPD, or really I did, they're just here in the building. So once the RAM comes in for those, to up the amount of RAM, I'll have to get everything set for those. I've got 2 laptops on the bench right now for the park department, so there's a lot of computers in process right now. The CPD, we just ordered a DCR computer for the interview room to replace the one they've used for, I think it's at least 10 years old, if not older. That is something that we will have to look at to replace for the sheriff's department as well, because theirs is quite old, and the company that they got it from and that the software was made by no longer exists. So we're going to get DCR or BIS Digital to come in and give us quotes. That's who we use over at CPD. That's also who we just had replace the Superior Court Recorder in April, and that's who we use in Circuit Court. So that would give us the same software commonality through all. So if prosecutor's office is listening to a court hearing and then they need to listen, go back and look at the interview, they can just go from the same software one to, and just pop right over to the next bit of information. So,
Makes good sense.
so the quote ended up being around $8,300. And that included the computer and everything. So hopefully we can come next year, we can get something similar for the sheriff's department. I don't know if they've got any money budgeted for such a thing, or if we have to get a additional, or if it would come out of some other fund, but that's something that we do need to look at. So the final
Are you
thing.
Michael, are you looking at that shortly into the new year?
No, I
mid-year,
think it'll probably be at least February or March before we actually start doing that, so
thinking.
that we can get past the first of the year adjustment period and all that kind of thing. So, other than that, I think that's pretty much everything I've got.
The CPD computers are through city funds.
Oh yeah, city paid for them. I just had them delivered here. I'm just waiting for that RAM. Ben used to, when he was here, he would go over to TV3 and use his and John little workroom over there to do city stuff, and then he would do county stuff over here. I just always thought, you know what, just use the one location. I just have them marked as city computers, and only thing Mike can do is move them out of the way if they're on the shelf, but I'm the only one that works on the city stuff. So, okay.
Thank you.
Give me a holler if you guys need anything.
Thank you.
Good point. Thank you. Adrian Ellis.
First, most importantly, God bless you.
He has.
You've been an inspiration. You've broken new ground. And believe it or not, you've got two fans way outside of Indiana. Both my nieces are very pro seeing women grow and move and go into new places. You've got a big fan in Madison, Wisconsin, and one in Atlanta. They both said to tell you that even though they don't know you, they admire you very much, and so do I. And thank you for everything you've done to help. One, I've got some information for the three of you. I attended 2 state meetings, and we've talked about NIMS before. And something that is important, that we talked about thyroid, and I've got a program overview for you guys. I talked to Diane about this, and the world of grants is getting tighter. The key issue is NIMS. You know, I burn that word up, but we've got to. Something I'm proud to say about this lady here, Diana has more NIMS training than a lot of the emergency responders. And crazy enough to talk about getting the 300 and 400 in, which those are pretty lengthy, but there are 3 different levels of NIMS, the introduction, the mid-management, and then the command structure. I would like to request from the commissioners a letter to the emergency department asking them to step up. In these packets, you see not only a layout for what NIMS is and Thyra, but there's a tiny little paper, yes, sir, that shows a little questionnaire that is hard to read, but it just gives you an indicator of all I needed for them, something that takes 20 minutes to do. And I didn't get one back. And what was told to me by FEMA, the Fed rep at our last meeting, was that's going to start working into the program where people are going to apply, emergency departments, and there's going to be a wall waiting for them because they don't submit that data. I submit NIMS for the county, for every department, to the state. The state rolls that up and sends it to the Fed, so when a grant goes in, that's going to be there and available. If they don't see that, the word could be no, and there are those who have been denied. Now, one thing that's going on, I'm transitioning out. Next year is it for me. One key thing in that is getting David ready. I want David to rock. I want David to just take over and do great things. There is, inside that group with the Homeland Security logo, there's a schedule for next year. Those are some of the standard things. There's quite a bit that goes with it. It's not listed there. Highlighted in yellow in October is when David's performance period begins. Between now and then, we've got to get him ready to transition. There are a lot of classes that he's going to take. I'm going to have the area coordinator for Homeland Security down. We will talk. We will get his programming ready, the classes that he has to get. He has to complete what's called a professional development series of classes through the state that gets him into that transition. All those things are necessary for you to get money back. Now, the issue for me that I think is not understood a lot of times, yes, I'm a county employee, but the federal and state government reimburses you for half of that. And because of that, under Title 10, which I've listed in there, are the activities that I'm responsible for. Some are directly within the county, but we've got to be ready for everything. And going back to grants, when a department gets a federal or state grant to buy equipment, that basically still belongs to them. And in worst case scenario on a disaster, they may call and say, hey, we need that, we need you, we need your personnel. What I want to do, if you'd be so kind, if you could get that letter out to these people, I can get the past NIMS information that they need to submit, and the one coming for what's called NIMS resource typing that talks about the equipment, how they're prepared to deal with that in the 5 levels of disaster emergency. Having said that, once that is done, I want to design an exercise, submit that for approval to Homeland Security, then have a full-scale exercise to test that programming and the personnel that gets that out of the way and makes that more convenient for them. And something, we had a recent incident on a school bus that I listened to it on the radio, and I was kind of alarmed at the communications going on. And Gary, you know well that within the 911 meetings, the communications world is, there's no one really, definitely not David, but there are a lot of people that need to look at things in there, and that's something that within the communications plan, we need to get that nailed down, and that can be tested in an exercise. The key is there are a lot of documents that need to be available. There are a lot of things that happen. Here's the page I was talking about. That's the NIM survey for each department. That's all I need from them. 20 minutes and they're done, and I can walk them through the other NIM survey is extensive, but it talks more about the equipment they have. And then the very back is the THIRA program. That is a monster. That is probably a 250-page document that has 18 sections in it that goes from planning to personnel to equipment. We just, within the district, we just started that, and we had the feds there to make sure we were doing it right. I've got to get that completed by October of next year. All these things I want done. I want all the plans done. I want the hazard mitigation studies done before David takes over. It's not fair to have him come in and have to run 500 miles an hour. As I said, I want David to rock. And the last thing, the new alarm system is in. And I've got to give all the thanks to Michael. Michael rocked on that. It was comical to watch him and the technician, get in the nerd world with computers and go crazy. There's a lot that's online now. I was shocked at one thing. The new system will tell you if the battery in the button is going down. But what shocked me last January, and since then we put new batteries in, they're not even lasting a year, and I don't know why. They should be lasting 2 to 3 years. So I know we got bad batches or what. But the system will do that. The other thing, the walk-through metal detector is getting ready to be ordered. That was part of the grant that paid for the alarm system. So we're getting more secure, and there are a lot of things that we can do, and that has to be laid out. That's part of THIRA. That lays out what you need to do when you exercise, and the additions to the system, because it's different from the last one. You can address it, you can add to it. What it does is make this safer, a safer courthouse. And that's the key, because God knows we don't ever want anyone hurt in here. So that and the front page list, what I've been doing. Very proud that the Healthcare Coalition, the 13 counties we're in, have asked me to write a plan for them. So it's great to represent the county, do all I can, and as I said, next year is it for me, and I want to get David going in the right direction and get him everything he needs. I think a lot of him, and I want him to rock. So that's it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Adrian.
Can you do Diana next? She has to leave at 10 o'clock. She's under old business. Community
Okay.
Crossings Group.
Well, that's the only people I had on here, so she's next anyway. Diana Wright?
Well, Dave Brickman wasn't highlighted, but he's here to present his quotes, I believe.
To present his quotes, okay. We'll get to Dave after Diana.
We've been notified that the community crossing application will be available again January 7th. I just want permission to go ahead and move forward. I believe Bill Mackey's gonna have everything in place to just move smoothly right on in with his ERC training. We have to have a certified ERC for the county, and Bill's working on that. So hopefully everything will be up and running, and just need permission to move forward.
If not,
In January.
that has to be in place.
By January before we can apply, it has to be in place.
Okay, so then we may need to, if that doesn't become in place, then we may need to utilize a private service?
No, you cannot use a private. It has to be an employee of the community to be an ERC. So what we've done in the past, when Jerry Gobin left and there was a little gap, the state allowed me to be the ERC for the city and the county. I'm not certified in bridge, which wouldn't matter
For
at this
this.
point, for this purpose. So, I'm sure, the gentleman that we work with at the state would allow that again for a short period, if we had to.
Do we need to
Okay.
make any modifications to the application, or just, are we planning on submitting?
I think we can just go straight forward with Warren's numbers. He and I have talked, and, so we think, we can just
Okay.
resubmit what was done before, and shouldn't have to modify much of anything.
Okay.
Well, hopefully, shortly after the first of the year or so, we'll have somebody named that, in an engineering position,
That would be amazing, yes,
move forward, to carry out
correct.
the
Yeah.
results of the application. But
Yep.
Chances are we won't have anybody in time for the submitting the application.
And that's fine. Like I said, Warren sat down with me, and as a learning process, I'm gonna have Bill sit down with me during the community crossing application so that he can learn.
Okay.
Motion to ask Diana to submit the Community Crossings Grant as we presented it, or submitted it.
We'll be asking for the maximum million, or close to. It's hard to hit an exact
Yeah.
number. Our match will be around 333,000.
Very good.
Motion.
I'll
Make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Been moved and seconded to have Diana move forward with Community Crossings grants. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
And if you don't mind, just to cover us, just in case Bill doesn't get all that completed by the application time, can I get your permission to go ahead and act as the ERC for the county until he gets on board?
I would move that we appoint Diana as
ERC, it's an employee
ERC.
of responsible charge.
Until we do name a more permanent position, or person.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to appoint Diana as our ERC on this process. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
3 ayes.
That's just a good backup.
Hey,
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, great job, a great job, make that great job. I don't know what we do with that.
Dave Rickman.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm coming to court today for purchase a couple of new tires for the 2000 Dodge Dakota. The front tires are starting to wear a little bit on the inside, and we get some new ones on there. Then I would like to try to get it lined up, make sure that's if there's anything else in there that we need to fix. I want to try to get that taken care of too. I got quotes from Don's. They're all about 50,000 mile tires. The first one was 196. That's a Fusion. Then Kelly, it was a 224, and then another 224, then a 240. Then I went to Ford and asked about the same tire, about the 50,000 miles. And it was a 371 for two. There's several of them that from Ford. That one of them was 373. Then another one was 243. And then I went to Tire Mark, and there's a 207 40
Now,
for the
did,
two tires.
did all these quotes, I tried looking at them, and did they all include the alignment and the balancing?
No, that's just the tires only.
That's tires.
Yeah, I want to probably go down to 18 to see about getting it lined up down there. Cause everybody said that they're pretty good on that, doing that down there.
So which bid was the best?
It was Don's on the Fusion tires, it was 196.
Is that mounted and balanced?
Yes, that's mounted and balanced.
Was he used or new?
They're all new,
All new?
yes. The tires that I quoted are all new for two
What's
tires.
the new brand of the tire?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I would move that we approve Don's tire.
196. I'd second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the bid from Don's Tires for 196. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. And we did get our new scanners in, Gary. I got Michael with one of them, so he can make sure what we need to make sure match up and everything real good for us. So he's working on that.
Okay.
But whatever we should be able to scan, the chip should pick up then
Okay.
and everything.
I would say then, Dave, probably between now and when you get them in service, you need to try to write some type of a written protocol
Okay.
of how you're gonna use them, why they're gonna be used, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And get that approved through the commissioners so that it's basically
In black and white.
Procedure.
departmental standard procedure.
Yeah.
And then if there's any questions of why you did this or why you did that, well, here's the standard operating procedure
Okay.
for the chip readers, and we carried that out or we didn't carry that out, one of the two, you know.
Yeah, we don't want this. We don't want anything to happen anymore.
No.
You know, it's an eye. We got an eye opened up a little bit, so we want to try to take.
I think
care
we
of it.
all did.
Yeah, yeah. I am getting some quotes for the building to get insulated in the office. That's just a block building, and
Yes.
it gets cold up there. And I will have money through the budget for next year to take care of these two. You know, I
Do you
got
have
two of
enough
them.
budget, enough money left in your budget that needs to be encumbered for that process for the first of the year?
Yeah, we do. We got money in
You
there
might
for that.
Need to do that then, make sure that it's encumbered so that
Well, I do
it doesn't
have,
go back and do it.
I do have some quotes here
Okay,
for doing the insulation.
okay.
I'll hand them to you real quick.
Because we'll need to have that under contract in order to encumber.
Okay. We got 7 days.
I asked 3 people to come up, and only 2 of them showed up.
Okay.
So I have 2 quotes. I think I've got one of these in your mailbox, didn't I, Leota?
You left the one from the school.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Here in Martin's ones. That's the only ones I had that showed up and gave me the estimates. Friendly contractor showed up and gave me the estimates to get the building insulated and replace a couple windows that we just got single panes in them. And take out the old baseboards because we don't need them, because we don't use them. They're about half tore up anyways. They came out with $3,400. The school, the high school, they came up and their bid was $2,001.26. We would have to come up with $1,400 up front to pay for the material.
Okay.
Then it's $667.09.
Yes.
We can pay a little later on that. That's for like to help them out with us. But like I
And
said,
this is the buildings and trades, what I know is
Yes.
the building and trades
Right.
class, yeah.
yes, that's
Different
what's,
vocational school.
yes.
And they can get this completed within this school year then?
Yeah, they should. He said it shouldn't take that long to get it all done. Brad did, and both of them did.
Very good.
The school too, because it's little learning skills.
Good training for them.
Yeah, I would make to approve the one for the school.
I would so second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Leila, thanks for your.
Work with Jane's office on seeing if you can, there's money that can be transferred.
Yeah, I looked in the budget and there is. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, me and Jane, I went to talk to Jane about the scanners. We took them out. We took them out of the budget instead of donated.
Very good.
So, yeah, Jane talking to me, and I started looking and everything. and
You had enough
she
money in
helped.
your budget.
Yes.
You didn't have to be taken out of it.
Right.
All right.
So,
Very
thanks.
good.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anybody else that's on the schedule that's not marked on here? We got Diana, RQAW.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. Congratulations.
Morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Pete Peterson, RQAW, out of Fishers, Indiana. With me today is Eric Weflin, our Director of Architecture. We're certainly pleased to be here today at the request of Mike Wenta. And again, I apologize for 2 weeks ago. Mike and I had our dates crossed. I was coming down on Wednesday and was prepared, and he said, "Pete, you missed a meeting." So I said, "Okay." I said, "When can I get back on the agenda?" And they said today. So again, my apologies. That was my error on my calendar. We're down here obviously today to talk about RQAW. We're very familiar with Fayette County. We were the ones who did the original design on the Community Corrections Building, which is sitting behind us. So we have worked with the county before. And as you look at RQAW and the history of RQAW, for those you don't know, we're probably the oldest Indiana-based architecture and engineering firm in the state. We've worked in all 92 counties in some capacity, primarily wrapped around public safety, i.e. jails, community corrections, government centers, police, fire, as well as having full service engineering, bridge, environmental. So we're a full service firm, approximately about 108 employees approximately in 3 different offices. I don't really have a lot of history as to why Mike wanted us to come down. I mean, we've heard things that that the county's been kind of studying and looking at this problem that's been going on. We have talked to the sheriff at times during some of the meetings that were around, and obviously sheriffs all have needs. You're not in a unique position as it relates to the state of Indiana with jail issues. I think Mike told me a week or 2 ago that there was a building that was potentially purposed that was looking for a potential redo or what we call a adaptive reuse, which
That's a
again,
fancy word.
we're really here obviously to come back and get ourselves in front of the commissioners and obviously see if you have any questions or any concerns that potentially we could try to help you with. And again, I brought the smart guy with me today because he's really the guy who's going to do all the work, him and his department, to answer those difficult questions. But at that point, I guess, Eric, I don't know if you want to add anything to that or not, but.
Just happy to.
Like, I guess what we're trying to do and we're seeking out, first of all, we want to make a wise decision on where we go and as far as our building structures and what we do, what we purpose those buildings for future use. We're interested in expanding our community corrections and as well as our women's secured lockdown DOC. And we purchased a building this year, but we also have what is now our annex that was previously our jail, old jail. And I guess the question has been brought up, okay, let's look at our old jail. It has 2 additions that were put onto it later in life, and is it more cost effective to put our women's needs in that building than this building that we purchased, or does it make more sense to go back there in the new building and put those needs in that building? So what we have asked for is representatives to give us a proposal on a feasibility study of what do we need, what's our best options for the 3 buildings we have. Our current jail, our old jail, which is now our annex, and this, basically the shell of a building that we've purchased.
Is the, sorry to interrupt you, is the request for proposal, is there a date when you're wanting us to have the?
We haven't put any date on that. We were hoping to be able to address it sometime before the end of the year or right after the first of the year. So if we know that we've got firms very much interested in participating, I'd like to hold off on trying to make that decision till we look at all possible firms.
We have 2 quotes already for feasibility studies from a couple other firms.
Okay.
And we'd be happy to have another one, give you guys a shot at it, because
And
we
I know
really
Mike-
want to do what's best for the county.
Yeah, Mike had told me that, he said, yes, I've got a company that I'd like to recommend, and I'd like to send them down. So that's kind of what I was hoping that you would respond, and I'm glad you're here today. I appreciate that.
Is there anybody that we can speak with directly about, from a proposal standpoint, just to kind of add some detailed, not detailed, but some scope so that we identify, we're going to look at this building. I know that the building next to Community Corrections is one of them.
Mhm.
You mentioned the old jail, the
Mhm.
annex is one of them. Is there anything else that we should list in that? Because I'd like to just get that back to you this week.
We'd like to, I think what we talked to the other 2 firms about was, we'd like to look at, okay, does it make more sense to add on to the current jail? Attach to the jail? Does it make sense to go into the old Dollar General store building with this facility? The community corrections and the women's secured facility. Does it make more sense to bring it back into the old jail and take those offices the probation department is currently in that building, does it make more sense to put them back there in that Dollar General building? Because of the construction of that building makes, does it make more sense to bring it back to a secured facility?
Yeah, we'd like to have something that really pays us for our money, where we don't have to go back in and redo it because we didn't do it right the first time. We want to get everything straightened out and so it all flies together and it's the best for the county.
Can they make contact with me, or is that all right?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll also stop by and say hello to the sheriff again as well.
Yeah.
Make sure he's got our information. Again, we are underway in a number of jails around the state, finishing up probably some of the most recent brand-new jails in the state, in Posey County, Greene County, Hamilton County. So those are all open for viewing should the commissioners and/or the sheriff's department and/or the council wants to go down and see those. I'll just kind of throw this out there. Every one of those jails was delivered at or under budget. I think that's very important to the bodies that protect the tax dollars. So again, we're happy to go ahead and provide that bid for you and provide any information we should need.
Would you be wanting to take a tour of the 3 facilities?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, kind of keep in mind, way
I
under
will-
budget.
I will not
Thank
be
you.
here, so
Yep, perfect.
if you want to contact Gary or Mark, I know the other 2 entities have already made bids and they've already toured those facilities. So-
We obviously have the plans for the community corrections building. I actually have those in an email that was given to me. I could probably pull them up on my phone, but so we do have that. But we would like to absolutely go view every other building, and we can arrange that with Gary, I believe, and see if we can't get back down here to do that. Unless there's a date right now that they may work for you, and we can take a look at our calendars and see if we can't get in.
Okay.
Really kind of up to you.
Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons work best for me.
Okay, great.
So,
Well, Erica, we'll look at our calendars and we'll circle back with an email.
yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, terrific.
All right.
All right. And again, we appreciate the time. Sorry for being late. Ms. King, I want to go ahead and congratulate you on all your service. I also sit on Fisher City Council. I'm a 3-term city council person, being urged by my mayor to run for a 4th term. Not really sure I would do that unless he asked me to. So I understand the sacrifices that we make as public officials, and I applaud you for your efforts.
Thank you, gentlemen.
It's been an interesting experience. I would not have, I'm glad I did. Did what I did. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay. Rick Ritter.
Good morning. Thank you.
This the car rental?
Yeah, I'll absolutely get to that. So, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come to speak to the commissioners this morning. As you see from my business card, I work for Enterprise. The rental car company is what we're known for globally as well as nationally. I represent a division that works on light and medium duty commercial vehicles for both companies and municipalities. So we have partnerships with the City of Carmel, the City of Kokomo, the City of Lebanon, as well as Hendricks County, Noble County, Elkhart County, to name a few. And I'm happy to get you contact information for commissioners at any of those different entities if you'd like to speak to them at concluding our conversation today. But the reason that I'm here is that we were at the Indiana County Commissioners Conference several weeks back, and Leota and one of my fellow colleagues had a conversation, and what we've been able to do is help municipalities with their light and medium duty vehicles to help ease operational and administrative burdens, as well as lower your total cost of ownership on the taxpayer money that the county puts into the vehicles that they operate. And that kind of spans across departments. So a couple things are pretty common in the government space. Typically budgets are tight. Decision making is typically decentralized to the different department heads. And what we're able to do is help with that budgeting and also, kind of look at the county holistically from a fleet perspective. That way, there's cost savings, and how we approach it is different than just focusing on the best buy. As we all know in this room, government gets a great buy. In fact, referencing our rental business, the government's the closest buy that anyone gets to what we're able to do, purchasing hundreds of thousands of vehicles a year for our rental business. And so what we're able to do in the government space is take the same philosophies and principles that we use to operate our rental vehicles and apply that at a local level, to where we can give you better visibility and control into your assets and help lower the total cost of ownership from the taxpayer's perspective. So prior to being in my current role, I've managed anywhere from 200 to 2,000 vehicles at various rental locations across the state. And now I serve as an unbiased financial consultant for companies and municipalities. So my ask of you today is to have the opportunity to crunch the data that the county currently has on their vehicles, and bring back to you an analysis that shows, it benchmarks what you're currently doing with your assets, and then would allow us to see if there is any opportunity for a partnership and cost savings in relations to the county's vehicles. I know I said a lot just now, and if you have any questions, I'd love this to be a conversation. It's a different way of approaching it. Rather than just focusing on the buy, we do look at your maintenance expense, your fuel expense, and most importantly, and often unfocused, is when is the right time to sell the vehicle based on the market conditions and the value that a secondary market holds. And I can speak confidently that with our government partners here in Indiana across the country, and it's not applicable to all vehicles, but because of where the pickup truck market is, we're able to actually have counties operate a truck and cover the cost of that vehicle and then gain some when they go to sell that vehicle, and we do that on their behalf. So we offer a turnkey solution, but everything that we do is piecemeal. So, as a fleet consultant, the more data we have, the better we can track and control your costs. But just know that it's not an all-in type of situation. Typically, what we'll do is we'll run that analysis, and then, with your blessing, talk to the different department heads and see if it'd be a good fit for their department, and look at the vehicles we identified that would be most ideal to replace from a financial perspective for the county, and then return to you with those conversations and the data that we've gathered and present that to you for your review.
When you talk about the vehicles, what
The scope of those? Yeah.
Give me some examples of what vehicles you manage.
Absolutely.
Cars, trucks, or highway department vehicles. I'm not sure what size or.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Obviously on the rental side, cars, trucks, SUVs, that's not a problem for us to handle. We also do light and medium duty commercial vehicles. So, pickup trucks, half ton, 3/4 ton, 1 ton. We also get all the way up to 650 with a cutaway, if you're gonna put a dump bed on it, stake bed. So whether it's
police vehicles,
we do pursuit vehicles as well. So we have the capability to help all different departments within the county, and that's a conversation we like to have with the different department heads to see what they're currently doing, because typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, the department heads typically manage their vehicles and then bring any funding needs to the commissioners. So we like to run that analysis on all the vehicles that you have. We'll kind of pick the vehicles that best fit in the beginning of a relationship, but what we're able to do is open up we're able to help across different departments. Does that answer your question in terms of the scope of the vehicles? Whether it's got a bunch of aftermarket and a pursuit vehicle, obviously, other than maybe some of your highway rigs that have a ton of aftermarket, we can help coordinate that. maintain your existing relationships, make sure you're getting the best price. Oftentimes, you know, if you're working with the same people, you know, it's always good to have a point of reference, but we can continue to maintain the same local relationships that you have, and still through an analytic approach, help the county with their vehicles.
And then, if we were in your program, then our vehicles would come through you, or our purchases would come through Enterprise, or all you're doing is a management service?
So, no, yeah, you wouldn't purchase any vehicles from Enterprise Holdings. What we do is every year with every one of our clients, whether or not it's government or whether it's commercial, is that we look at everything that every manufacturer recommends based on what's needed. Obviously, the highway department's going to need something different than the sheriff's department, and so on and so forth. So we'll take whatever that vehicle is, say it's a 1-ton pickup truck, and we'll compare on a cents per mile basis what each manufacturer's recommending. We'll find out what the government incentive is on each one of those vehicles, and we'll bring to you that analysis so that then you know, as you know, county representatives, that you're spending the best money from the taxpayer's perspective on that given vehicle. At the end of the day, it's a recommendation. We're a consultant, so that doesn't mean that you have to take whether, you know, we say you need to replace these vehicles, or, you know, the lowest cost of ownership is with this manufacturer. Obviously, local relationships are very important, and we want to continue, you know, those at all costs. So if you have a specific make or model that you want to continue to use, that's more than okay. But we wouldn't be doing you a service as a consultant if we didn't look at all the options.
And then, so how, then, if we were going through this and we were part of this, how are you compensated then?
Yeah,
As a
absolutely.
consultant?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and that's included in the analysis. We include that in terms of the total cost of the ownership. So that would be included in the analysis that I'm recommending that we do. If you're going to be using a market value finance, we make some money in interest, and then when we go and sell the vehicle on your behalf, there's a flat fee for us to sell that on consignment. But we don't have like hidden fee structures. We want to be completely transparent in that regard, and we work off volume. So obviously you wouldn't start out by flipping your whole fleet. It's our stance as a company that we want to continue to earn your business over time, and as you acquire new vehicles, let us help manage those for you and your existing vehicles as well. But every analysis that I perform for our government clients and our commercial clients, specifically to the government clients, even with the cost of doing business with us, we're able to save the county or city money.
Would you be able to submit a written proposal for that analysis as far as
Oh yeah,
cost
absolutely.
involved?
This is a free analysis, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely free. There's no cost to the county whatsoever.
To the original, or the beginning analysis, but I guess what I would like to have is some kind of description of the program and everything in writing.
More details on what we're able to
yeah.
offer. Absolutely. And it's not something that's easy to articulate given a set period of
Right,
time.
yeah.
But I'd be happy to, I can provide case studies for other clients that we've helped in the government space. I can provide you more specifics on a partnership, and I can also provide you, you guys are part of a purchasing cooperative called Sourcewell, which is formerly NJPA, and they did they basically ranked all the fleet management companies, and they ranked us as the top fleet management company. So I can get you that scorecard so that you can see that, because they've done the due diligence there in terms of the market. So I'd be happy to get you more information. And I guess my ask would be, do I have your blessing then to, you know, start the analysis?
I think I'd like to do some more research and reading before I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's going to take time for our department heads to spend time with you as well, and I want to make sure we're doing the right thing before we.
No,
steer them.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And do you have any further questions in terms of what our partnerships with other counties have been, or what the scope of what we're able to do for the county is? Okay, all right.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Yeah, no, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
We have a proclamation that needs to be approved that we will be presenting about Fayette County's 200th birthday. I don't know if I need to read all of this. We'll be doing it on the 28th at the Miller Center. And this is about the 200th birthday of Fayette County. That needs to be approved and signed by all of us.
I'll move to approve the proclamation for Fayette County.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 200th anniversary proclamation for the county. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes. We also have interlocal contracts for our payment for the IT.
Which was voted on those last meeting.
No, this is between the city of Connersville. We
Oh.
voted on
Counties.
the interlocal.
Yeah, the intra.
And these are between the two governments. This is with the city of Connersville. And of course, this city of Connersville. Oh, one of them's for Diana Wright and one of them's for the IT director. So we have two
So
different.
moved to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve interlocal agreement. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
I have the union contract as well.
Okay.
Our union contract negotiations went a little bit farther. We approved the changes in the contract pending the council's approval on the wage package. They did approve the wage package, and we approved the contract except for our insurance splits. They countered with some more language change in Article 8, Section 8.1. They added a C. They wanted it that we did work through May through September would be our regular hours would be four 10-hour shifts for a total of 40 hours a week, work week. And you've got copies of that language that's been proposed. If we so approve this, then we will have a contract. The union has ratified it as presented here.
I'll move to approve the county contract with the county highway.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded to approve the county highway contract. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes. And I don't have this on here. I would like a motion to approve transferring any of the senior center vans are purchased through NDOT. They have to be purchased by the Board of Commissioners. And after a 5-year period, they can be transferred to the senior center's name and out of the commissioner's name. And if we have any that qualify for that, I would like to have a motion to approve me pulling any titles that we have in our file for any of the vehicles that should now be transferred to the senior center.
I'll move to approve the transfer of titles for the senior citizen center.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve transfer of titles for senior center of any vans that are over 5 years in our name. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes. Approval of claims and payroll.
I'll move to approve the claim and payroll.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes. Approve claims and payroll. And after we sign all these little pieces of paper,
A reminder that we'll have board appointments after the first of the year, at the first meeting. All the board positions and department heads, for reassigning them, appointing them as well. All right, signatures, I guess.
Lots of things.
There's 2 copies of each of those contracts. And there's everything else.
Chad's back with all the bids
Bids.
also.
Okay. What are these?
The bids that Michael King presented for the computers.
Oh, okay. So we don't need that. There's nothing I have to autograph on that. Mr. Havlin?
I went through all these, and they're pretty much standard, they all look good. I
Okay.
know which ones are the lowest, and I can make a recommendation to accept all of them. Because, like I say, if you run on the one that ain't ready, you can go to the next one and start. You don't have to wait on them,
Okay.
because that has happened in the past.
I think,
I do wish there was one from New Point Stone in here, because we use them a lot down south, but how they got missed, I don't know, but I will find out,
okay.
because they didn't even send a bid in.
Yeah, because we'll not be able to use them if,
It's a shame, because that's what we used them for our limestone and stuff down south.
yeah. One question that I had, Jay, and maybe you can answer the question, this. IMI bid on 2 different sands.
Yeah.
The-
One's a cement sand, and the other is just a waste sand.
Well, why is the waste sand higher priced than the...
I have no idea.
So are we using the cement sand?
Yeah.
For our salt and
Yeah, that's
sand?
normally what we use for the salt, because it's more refined.
Yes.
But I don't know why the other is higher. It didn't make a lot of sense to me when I seen it either.
What do we normally use the waste sand for then?
I don't think we use it that much.
Okay, all right.
I don't
didn't-
remember
I didn't know
last time
whether
I
you were
actually
using
used
it for some backfill or purposes or what.
Trouble, if you put sand in a hole, it starts to shift on you, and then you got a problem later on.
Mm-hmm. But
But I'm trying to think, I don't remember what we've used the waste sand for.
I didn't know whether you possibly used waste sand for, like, to put down a bed in a hole and then lay the can on top of it so it would settle in, and then
Usually,
and move around, you know,
yeah, they
where
can
where
be
you can
used
move
for
it
that, as
around
long as you don't
easily.
get too much in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't know whether you used waste sand for that or, because I can remember when I was commissioner before, we even got a bid on waste sand, and I
Yeah.
thought, well, why would we even have it?
And normally, if you go in there with a pickup truck and ask them, they'll give you all the waste sand you want.
Yeah,
So that's what don't make a lot of sense.
yeah. Well, and if I remember right, early on, my first 4 years, we talked to IMI about this waste sand. Well, it was basically free. I mean, it was almost free. So we started using it for our salt and sand mixture. And then they started raising the price, and I thought, I hope we're not still buying this for
Yeah.
put on.
Like I said, you gotta keep an eye on these.
Yeah.
When you're getting stuff.
Yeah, so I just wanted to double check with you to see what we were buying, what we wasn't buying.
But I'll find out what happened to New Point, because I hate to see them not being there.
Yeah. How can we address that at a later time if,
I don't know, we'll have to check on it.
I mean, we may not be able to, we may have to go a full year without doing any business with them. And they have to haul everything from up here to the southern part of the
Yeah.
county.
And then when you get your crushed stone up here, it's higher up here at IMI than it is down there for them.
Now, IMI's bid was for state spec
Yeah.
limestone, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we need, because your riprap and stuff like that, we get from New Point. That's
Normally.
Derbyshire, yeah. And I'm trying to think, the nearest place, and we've never had a bid from them, was over on 244, that stone quarry over there. I don't remember the name of it, but I
Rush
remember going
County.
over there.
Rush County stone,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I don't think we ever had a bid from them. I think they just
No.
went over and got stuff from them when they needed it. So I don't know.
Okay.
We'll just have to address it when it comes, is all we can do.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
All right, I would move that we approve all the bids that was presented and use them as financially sound and usable for the territory of the county that we're in.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded to approve all the bids to be used as needed, where needed. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Jane, you want to keep these in your office? I'd like copies of them, if you can give them for me.
Sure.
Or you want me to go make them?
No, I can.
Okay. Because I'd like to have them down there too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jane, will you enter those bids as far as price in our minutes, or how do you normally
Tell
do
them where to look
that?
them up at.
I'll say something like available in my office.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, because some of those get really.
They're really
detailed.
lengthy, yeah. That's why I didn't even attempt to start reading them, because where do you stop?
Yeah.
You know, as far as prices and everything, so.
I have one more thing I'd like to say. I'm not good at this, so I'm gonna make it short. Leota, you've done a heck of a lot of good for the county. You've been one of the toughest women I've ever seen. Feel bad, you still come, you get hurt, you still come. But on behalf of Fayette County, we'd like to thank you for doing your job and going above and beyond. Jane, you got anything you want to throw in? Because I know you know a lot more than I do.
Well, you've got something under the corner of your,
Yeah, I do. This, we'd like to present her for her years of service with the county.
I'm gonna have to build a new house to put all the plaques on. Oh, my.
There you go.
Thank you. You guys want to stand up? You want to get in front of the...
Here, I'll get on that.
Just hold it up, there you go. For that special issue here.
By the way, I'd like to state she is the first woman commissioner Frederick County's ever had, and it says it there on the plaque, so it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm probably the oldest county commissioner you've ever had.
Well, that's
too.
okay, you're still good.
Anyway,
Thank you. Ditto from me as well.
well, I'd like to thank the county for the opportunity to serve. It's been very rewarding and interesting, and being a county commissioner is not as easy as a lot of people think. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, just trying to get stuff accomplished, and it takes a while. There's some things that I've accomplished that I had goals to, and there's a couple of things that didn't happen. But maybe when David Baker gets in, we can have the EMA building moved, because I couldn't get Adrian off the dime to get the quotes in. So, anyway, I want to thank everybody, because you've been great to work with. The council's been great to work with, and I'm looking forward to Dale Strong taking my job over, because I think he'll do a good job for the county too. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
With that, I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.